Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted. I'm Dawn Mitchell. Our guest this week is a powerhouse of inspiration, a former Ms. Hockey, a Gopher hockey star, and someone who is now dealing with an even bigger, greater opponent off the ice, an autoimmune disease called myasthenia gravis. I welcome in Edina's own Taylor Williamson. Taylor, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I know we've known each other since you've been in high school, right?
I know,
Does
crazy.
it seem weird?
Over a decade now, which is crazy, but I appreciate you having me.
Well, let's jump into this first. I knew you in high school. I saw you when the Ms. Hockey become a Gopher. Yep. People are saying, well, what are you doing now? So let's jump into exactly what you're doing now, because you're coaching and you're a stud, and we'll get to everything that you've been through in a moment, but I think people love to see the success story coming out of the gate.
Well, I feel like, and I had told you about it earlier, but honestly, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm being mentored by Adam Oates, and so I work for called the Oates Sports Group. So I am a skill development coach, and I work with high-end high school, college, and now professional hockey players, whether it's in the state, across the country, and even into Canada. So it's an unbelievable opportunity, something where I get to do what I've loved my whole life, but now make an impact on players who are just starting their career or trying to continue it. So it's been great.
So do you fly out to where they are and help them out?
For the most part, a lot of people come here. I mean,
nice.
We're the hockey hotbed, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll travel, but for a majority, I get to stick around here and have players come in. And Adam, we call it his summer tour. He'll just go to all of his hotbeds around the country and then up into Canada. And he makes a stop in Minnesota about 3 times a summer. So it's super fun.
I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Another reason I wanted to have you on is I've known you for a long time, playing hockey your whole life. And then when you were with the Gophers, all of a sudden things started happening, right? You weren't quite sure what was going on. Can you take us through that when all of a sudden you're thinking, hey, I could probably go pro at some point. I could, the world is my oyster. Mm-hmm. And then you just really weren't feeling well, and you were missing games, and you have battled through, you've had surgeries, hip surgeries. Mm-hmm. You're a warrior through it all, and kind of like you were out of answers at one point.
Yeah, so this all kind of came forward around the end of my sophomore season. And we were in the middle of spring training, and that's like a very heavy lifting, off ice. It takes a lot on your body because you're emphasizing building muscle and strength so that come the season you kind of got that nice base under you. But I just remember season being done, you've got the stress of that, school's wrapping up, so there's no reason I should have any kind of issues popping up, but every night I would have slurred speech for 5 to 10 minutes. And it was something where after 6 to 8 weeks of it continuing to happen, I'm like, okay, it's time I gotta tell my parents about it and figure out what's going on. But being an elite athlete, I didn't think it was anything very serious.
Right.
I was assuming it was a food allergy because you
interesting.
You eat the same food every day.
Yeah. Right?
When you figure out what works for your body, you just repeat.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I think it might just be a created food allergy. So my mom and I talk about it, and she's like, all right, let's, I'll figure out who we can call and get an appointment with. She's like, I don't really know who to go to. So then we connected with an old teammate's mom, Dr. Jane O, who's an internist. So she ran me through all sorts of tests, did neurological stuff, and then, physical muscular things. But then she was like, Taylor, I think we should get an MRI of your brain.
Did that scare you?
It was funny. I was like, okay, yeah. She's like, have you gotten one, ever? And I was like, no. Even through my concussions, I never had actually, gotten a scan before of my brain. Huh. So I'm like, okay, yeah, for sure. Whatever we have to do.
Right.
So I was not nervous. But then all of a sudden after the MRI, my mom and I are sitting in a waiting room like this for an hour and a half.
Oh no.
So that's when the nerves started to come in. because it's like, okay, like what's taking so long?
Right.
So then finally when Dr. O comes back into the room, she sits down, pulls up the 2 monitors on the computer, and there on the screen is my brain with a massive white mass just like sitting on the screen.
What were your initial, when you first saw that? Like, could you breathe?
No, I felt like I was
even
like,
think anything?
I felt like I just got the wind knocked out of me. Because it's like, you're like, you don't have to say anything, like, you know that's not a good sign.
Right.
So the reason it took so long was because, you know, Dr. O was on the phone with surgeons around the area.
Okay.
So she comes in to say, Taylor, you know, we found an arachnoid cyst sitting on the right side of your brain. I've already been in touch with a neurosurgeon who is literally like specializes in exactly what you need to be operated on. So I'm gonna have you and your mom head straight to Methodist Hospital in St. Louis Park to go meet with him. Yes. So we left her office, drove right over there. In the car ride, we called my dad to let him know what's happening.
How do you make that phone call, you know?
I told my mom, I go, I can't even talk.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I'm so
nervous,
anxious.
You don't know, right.
Also, the whole slurred speech, like that was happening. So I'm like, I literally can't tell him. Oh. And when I look back at that moment in the car, I'm like, I feel like that's like one of the strongest moments I've ever seen my mom like show strength. Really? Because like she knew that like I needed her to be strong and like not cry. And like she totally just like was superwoman in that moment.
I'm getting all choked up here.
Yeah, like it was.
Think about what it took for your mom to be like that.
Yep, be like, yep, we have to go here, want to meet us.
Mm-hmm.
So he met us there, and we met with Dr. Bamidi, who was my brain surgeon. Incredible man, and within 20 hours, I was in the operating room having surgery. So it was a surreal moment considering the day before I was a college athlete at spring training with my teammates, and the next day they show up for that and I'm in an operating room.
Thank goodness you didn't conceal from your parents anymore the slurred speech, mm-hmm. right? And you just didn't write it off as I'm tired, maybe this happens.
Yep.
Or, you know, someone else might jokingly say like, what, did you not sleep well? You know, when you're a smart person, you try to be logical.
Right.
And put it aside.
Right.
But then you finally said something. Mm-hmm. Going into surgery, I love that Dr. O already had like a plan.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to sit and stew, right?
Right.
But going into surgery, how are you feeling? What were your thoughts?
It was almost, it happened so fast that like I couldn't even think.
Oh, that might have been a good thing?
Yeah, so I think like through that entire like wait period, I was just like in shock and kind of just like whatever person is telling me to do something, it was like, okay. Because I think that's just like how a lot of us athletes are wired, like almost in like those bigger moments, you just kind of turn off emotion and you just get whatever your job is, you get it done. In that moment, it was like it was survived through the surgery. So just did what I had to do in that moment.
So after surgery, mm-hmm. How did you feel after? Was it all of a sudden things were great? What was the recovery like? I mean, I look at you now, and I've even known you post a lot of other things that you've been doing. But first of all, everyone must have been on pins and needles. Mm-hmm. You know, brain surgery, no matter what, is no joke. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to really start getting back on your feet?
It took a long time. Like, I mean, brain surgery is brain surgery, and I think that's kind of like a special thing that I feel like anyone that has gone about that, we automatically have like a bond, right? You maybe talk about your scar, right? I always like touch mine back here.
Oh, you can feel it?
Yep, like you can feel my incision back here, and it's such a unique thing. Like you have to go 3 weeks without lifting anything over 10 pounds because like you can't have that pressure go to your brain.
Right.
So it's like little stuff like that. The funniest one is like it's hard to wash your hair. Like you can't technically,
right,
because of like you can't get your incision infected. So I've got my mom, you know, like we made light of like the hard time. So it's like washing like the ends in the
ends
sink.
And the parts right over here.
Or, you know, my little brother, you know, making fun of me for like how greasy my hair got at one point because you can't. And then it was like you could only use baby shampoo. It was just like such a little random part of brain surgery that you're like, never would have thought that would happen. Yeah. But it was hard. And when I moved back home, my younger brother, his best friend, was actually moving in to be like, we were like gonna be his billet family.
Oh yeah.
And he was so like kind because he tried to like not make it a big deal. Like my parents completely forgot that Demetrius was moving in the day I was coming home. And so they're trying to be as quiet as possible. But even like the door slamming, it would like hurt, like give me such a bad headache.
Yeah.
So just like little stuff like that was tough at first, but that was kind of when I started my goal of like just get 1% better every day. So maybe it was sitting outside for 30 minutes, and then it was, let's see if I can walk up and down the driveway to the mailbox. Okay, do that a couple times the next day. Like, you know, that's what life became, and I chose to like find joy, and we all would just like celebrate in it. And you know my family, like we all just like go beside each other in like those tough moments, and even my friends, right? They'd come visit, bring me coffee, just chat. You know, if I would fall asleep, then they would just stay and, you know, talk with my parents or, you know, whatever they had to do to help. Like my support system was just like my foundation through that whole thing.
And now, myasthenia gravis is this autoimmune disease that you have to deal with since then.
Yep.
Many people don't know what that is. Can you explain? Muscle weakness is what I really know, but there's so much more than that.
Yeah, and the crazy part is like, people always ask like, did brain surgery cause it? And we have no idea.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, like we don't know when that like was triggered or like when I like it started to work in my body. Obviously, we have a feeling that like it maybe existed but was like dormant.
Oh, okay.
And that, you know, brain surgery and then maybe medication I was on for that recovery maybe sparked it. So MG is short for myasthenia gravis, and like you said, it's an autoimmune neuromuscular disease. So it's anywhere from having weakness in your arms and legs to getting double vision, a droopy eye, trouble chewing and swallowing, and then, you know, it can be as dangerous as having trouble breathing. And each person is different. They call it like the snowflake disease because no one's like range of like symptoms is the same.
Which makes it harder to deal with.
To diagnose and deal with, for sure. So it's unique because like I'm 8 years into it now. And even through my 8 years, I've had seasons of life where like I struggled with one symptom more than the other. But at the same time, I'm super blessed because like I'm able to live like a very active, healthy lifestyle like I want to do. Whether it's biking, coaching, just going out and, you know, exploring the world, doesn't matter what it is. But I feel like I've been able to fight back hard enough so that MG doesn't define my life.
But what I love is it doesn't define your life, but you and your family are working to create this center that people can go to so that they don't have to maybe go through the trials and tribulations that you did, right? To find an expert here and driving here and like all in one area. How is that going? I know you have a pickleball tournament coming.
We do, yep.
The second annual, right?
Yep, second annual.
How is that going?
It's great. I mean, yeah, so we're calling it the Center of Excellence. I don't know, that was like a name that kind of came to my mind. But we're working with health partners, which obviously that's who helped me get diagnosed with the surgery, where I had surgery, where my neurologist is now. Like that umbrella of healthcare is just incredible. And so now I'm so grateful that they've wanted to like come beside me and my story to like help create this for other patients. And it's gotten to the point where like it's already happening. Like we have patients not just with myasthenia gravis, but any sort of neuromuscular disorder going and getting help to like live a healthy lifestyle. So we do that in St. Paul at the Neuroscience Center there, right off of like Fulton.
And you did that.
It's crazy.
That's awesome.
We're still a long ways away, but I think that's like, it was so like humbling to like actually see it start.
Yeah.
Because you work so hard to just get the door open, and now that we have it, it's like, okay, like I want to do even more now to like help impact as many lives as I can.
Well, it's no surprise to me with your grandfather Murray, your dad Dean, your mom, who you just told us how badass she is,
Yeah.
that you have that gene in you to not only, okay, let's accept the situation, let's fight the situation, now let's fight for other people in it. How has that brought your family together in a different way?
I feel like it's like helped everybody like grow more as like people, because being an athlete family, like you're trained to like never show weakness. And I feel like I was like kind of like that first person to be like, actually like I'm gonna like boast in my weakness and like use that in a way to like make a difference. And I think that it just kind of helped us like understand like, no, like there's strength and courage and boldness in doing that versus trying to pretend like nothing's wrong. Because when I tried doing that for 6 months before being diagnosed with MG, I mean, we all saw how that was just like a snowball of very poor decisions. So
the pickleball tournament is when?
The pickleball tournament's going to be August 21st at Mega Pickleball in Minnetonka from 12 to 3 o'clock.
And is it sold out? Can people sign up? Can they join, or how can they give money?
So it's all through the Park Nicollet Foundation. Like we have a link and everything. And so there's still plenty of open spots. So anybody can come, even if you've never played before. It's not like a tournament structured style. We just have it where there's open courts and you do it by skill level. And the first annual, which we were lucky to have you be a part of, was like a hit. It was so much fun.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of names come out too.
There were some big names there.
You got some big name celebrities that come on out. So
it'll be fun to have. We got like Brock Faber coming, Sammy Walker, Bob Motzko and Brad Frost. The Gopher women's and men's hockey coaches are going to be there. So obviously, as we've talked about, many hockey people. Yes. So we're going to see more of that there, but it's a great fun day where we get to compete, hang out, and the money just obviously goes towards an incredible cause that's already making changes in people's lives.
Well, Taylor, I adore you. I am so proud of you. And every time I see you, you just like grow into like an even better version of yourself. And so I know that you're going to tackle any answers and questions and maybe even hurdles that come your way, but I think you're just busting them all down. And I can't believe you're working with Adam Oates, who I've known since I was young and just getting my career started when I was in Boston. So to see you working with such a great person, I'm not surprised.
Well,
so
thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thanks. And I'm going to follow up and find out how it all went in that pickleball tournament.
Oh, of course.
I want to see Frosty and Motzko go against each other.
Oh, I know.
Matter of fact.
He's a sneaky good pickleball player, I tell you. It's crazy.
Which one?
Frosty.
Oh, is he?
Yes. He was my coach, so like you want to beat him.
Yeah.
And, he totally was like, oh, I'm not that good, and just skunked us in a game. Like, I was like, where did this come from? So.
Oh, he's one of those guys. Okay, Frosty, we know what you're about.
Yeah.
We got it now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, get Frosty this time.
Yeah.